Hi everybody and welcome to this webinar from TextHelp. This is the third in our remote learning webinar series, and today we're going to be talking about supporting students in tertiary education, which is a really broad term, is it not, Greg?
It is indeed. Further and higher education students.
Further and higher education, it's all sorts of things. Greg and I make up the TextHelp team here at TextHelp Asia Pac, the EdTech team, and so I'll let Greg introduce himself.
Yeah. Hi everybody, I'm Greg O'Connor. I'm the EdTech manager here at TextHelp Asia Pac, and that's me on the left of your screen. And Fiona, that must be you on the right.
That is me indeed, with my little Bitmoji. And I'm the learning and teaching specialist. And so my role is to support you guys to get the most out of your software wherever you are and make sure that we can get it working in the way that you would like to. And hopefully today we'll show you all sorts of new ways, and you might have lots of questions about the sorts of things that you can do. So a little bit of housekeeping to get started. All the resources that we talk about today will be sent out after the session. It'll actually be probably closer to Thursday or Friday. We're going to give you access to the resources from all of the sessions that we've done this week, and that's 4 of them. So we've already done reading and writing, and today we're specifically talking about further and higher ed. And of course, this is a listen only session. So your microphone's been muted, and you have a little question panel in your GoToWebinar control panel. And if you click on that triangle there, it will drop down for you and you can type a question to us if you have something you want to ask us. Feel free. With Greg and I both on here, usually one of us is talking and the other one can answer questions. And if we think it's something that everybody needs to know, then we'll share that with the group and read that question out loud so that you all get the additional information. And if it's something we don't know, we'll find out, won't we, Greg?
We will. I was just going to say, Fiona, just everyone, you only see your own questions. You don't see it. GoToWebinar, the way it's set up, it's not us, it's actually GoToWebinar. You only get to see your own question and our answers. So yeah, we'll make sure we'll read out any questions that we think everyone should be seeing.
Now, if by any chance you have any technical issues during this presentation, whether it be most common one is losing sound, that is likely an internet issue on your end. So it could be your headphones, so always check your headphones first. And if not, the best solution is to log out and log back in again. Not very many people do, but every now and again we have a few people who have a few difficulties. If that's not a possibility for you, please know this session's being recorded and you'll be able to watch the recording at your leisure when it suits you. All right, so we know that these past few months for all educators in all sectors have been there's been all sorts of challenges, all sorts of things going on, and the tertiary sector is no different. And so you've had a really steep learning curve in terms of navigating emergency remote learning. I have one of my sons at home who is currently doing his university online 3 days a week. So I certainly know that it's been a challenge for everybody to be able to do that. So we just wanted to check in first and see how you are. So in that little GoToWebinar question panel, if you could type how you're feeling. How are you feeling today, Greg?
Well, looking at on a scale of 1 to 8 of those movies, I'm probably I'm a 2 currently because I've had my coffee, and maybe I'm a bit of an 8 because I'm uncertain about where this is all going, and maybe a bit of a 7 too. I'm a combination of 2, 7, and 8, I think.
Gosh. Well, that's a combination.
Yeah.
Dead tired but happy.
That's right.
I like that. Yeah, I'm probably a bit 4 and 8, so I feel like we're at the start of a long road where things could be all over the place. But let's see how everyone else is feeling. So in that GoToWebinar control panel, you've got your little question pane. Pop in the number of the movie that tells us how you're feeling today.
But there you go. Emma's on a 1, 2, and 8. She's a combination. Other people are bringing up individual numbers. Everyone's at different places. There's 4s and there's 7s. I don't, not too many people so far. I can't see anyone who's chosen a 5 or a 6. Yeah, we're probably not all feeling like superheroes at the moment. But,
No.
but maybe we are. So, yep.
All righty.
Okay.
So let's. I think I'm going to hand over to you now, Greg, and you're going to start us off. Is that right?
I am. So what I need to do is grab back the. Let me.
Got some more people, 2s and 5s. Oh, someone's feeling a 5. Yay.
Great.
So good that you're feeling a 5. I wish I was feeling like Captain Marvel. She looks fabulous.
Now you can see my screen. That's correct.
Yes. Yes. Sorry, I just had lots of windows open the top, and now I can see your screen.
Great. Okay.
I apologize for that.
Just let me pick up something here. Okay. Okay, everybody, what I want to do, what Fiona and I are going to do is we're going to talk to you about supporting your students, specifically around literacy and around math, supporting digital math and more across a whole bunch of courses that your students might be doing. And so, oops, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to start off, and I'm going to focus on the literacy part, and Fiona's going to focus on the maths and other parts. So the literacy section, what I want to kind of get you thinking about is, okay, so for us, for literacy in further and higher education, it's all around how our students access their coursework, access the learning content, the stuff that they need to do, how they get access and read. So basically, what it's talking about it from a literacy point of view is how do they access information and read what they have to read, and at the same time process and reflect, comprehend that information as they're doing their coursework, and then finally they then need to demonstrate understanding, express their knowledge, so they have to write. So it's about reading, comprehension, and writing really is the core skill set that all students have to be able to do, because we know that in further and higher ed, literacy, well, this is kind of obvious to me, is that literacy is the core of everything in terms of how our students have agency. So their literacy can actually inhibit their agency, in that as their literacy becomes requiring more support, they actually tend to lose agency. It's also around how included they are in their courses. It concerns their course completion. We actually know that reading is one of the most commonly cited reasons that students don't complete coursework. We also know that writing is a complex academic task that students often struggle with, even though they know what they're talking about. They just can't demonstrate it through the writing process. And we know that ultimately literacy for all our students connects them to their how employable they are and how socially connected you are. So these things are all obviously important, but we have a current reality that's at the same time that's changed everything for us. The current reality is with COVID-19, this year we've gone from having students on campus to now having, for many of the settings across Australia and New Zealand and Asia Pac, those institutions, universities or TAFEs or polytechnics now are totally having no students apart from certain exemptions on campus. So a lot of our students are actually studying from home. We are changing, things are changing. We've got social distancing, and in some states and places, cafes are opening up. So if students will finally be able to get that coffee they need, but so it's all different. Everywhere is different, and so what we need to think about is what we're dealing with now is this kind of really variety of an environment that our students are accessing their coursework. At the same time, they have a variety of accesses to their technology. So what's happened is that if students are using tech, those devices they have access to are probably no longer campus devices that might have had particular bits of technology they need to access. They're now using a variety of devices too. Or, that a particular institution might have been predominantly one platform, but now your students are either using Windows or they're using Mac environments, they're using things like Chromebooks and iPads and a whole bunch of different ways that they're probably accessing from remotely or trying to access their courseworks. And maybe you're delivering courses to them via various platforms like various LMSs like Canvas or Moodle or Blackboard, whatever it is that you're using. And then there's this kind of the Google and the Microsoft environments that you might be wanting to deliver course content to your students now. And then there's the whole issue of video conferencing, which is kind of a synchronous environment where you're actually talking to your students live, but then you've got the asynchronous environments where for probably the majority of time, your students aren't actually live one-to-one with anyone. They're actually asynchronous. They're actually just doing their thing when they need to do it and how they need to do it. So this is resulting in a whole different set of circumstances than that we're now having to deal with. And then there's literacy within the coursework. So once you get this information, once your students access their coursework by whatever platform or LMS or that they're using or device that they're using, how do they actually then access the literacy, the coursework, and get the literacy supported? And the problem sometimes, if they're using a particular set of literacy support tools that come embedded in a platform or a device, the issue is that it's only to that device, and they need to be across the whole. You and they need to be across all the devices and platforms they're working in or could be working in. So that's where Read and Write, and so I want to kind of use Read and Write for my section, comes into play, because what Read and Write is, it's a toolbar that supports you, that can support your students across reading, writing, comprehension, study, assessment, and it's across all platforms. Now, Read and Write currently in a further and higher education settings across Australia and New Zealand, in particular, we're in about 85% of institutions. Now that could be in fact, in that 85% of those institutions in some way may give access to Read and Write to their students, and some of that might be unlimited across the whole institution. For instance, just this year, New South Wales TAFE now roll out Read and Write to every student across all of New South Wales, and we have various universities that have a totally unlimited license for every student. We have polytechnics in New Zealand and universities in New Zealand as well doing the same thing. Then some universities will provide Read and Write on a needs basis, so they'll actually be allocating Read and Write to particular students as required. So Read and Write's there providing that support. And what kind of support can it provide? This, and I'm going to show you a quick couple of ways it does this. But what can it do? Well, Read and Write can actually. The thing about Read and Write is it can be used across all those platforms. So it's device and platform agnostic. You don't need to have to be changing. The students are going to get access to the same toolbar wherever they are. It comes with a PDF reader, and I want to quickly show that why that's important for our remote and online students, because it has a whole bunch of things it can do for them when they're reading PDFs and annotating PDFs. It also has some virtual scanning capabilities, which I want to kind of talk to you about too. In other words, when students have text that is inaccessible, that's digital, or even if they've got paper versions of text, how they can actually scan that wherever they are. They don't actually need access to a scanner. And as I mentioned, Read and Write is across, for a student, it's across every device. So when a institution has an unlimited institution-wide license for Read and Write, that gives every student in that institution access to Read and Write on whatever device they have. Windows, Mac, in the Google environment, it's in Microsoft Edge. It's accessible via an iPad and also Android tablets. And the other thing for Read and Write is it's not only can a student access Read and Write if it's provided by an institution on campus machines, but students can actually download and install Read and Write on any personal device at home or if they're also working on a work device, wherever they are in the community. So it's across devices and wherever they are, and that's really important. So what I want to do is now just jump in and show you some of the ways that just quickly an example. So what I'm just going to do is, just for those people who maybe Read and Write is the first time they've seen it, just to quickly just show you how it looks. And I want to just kind of pinpoint a couple of the tools that might support your students when they're in actually online or remote situations. And this is not only for students who may have struggling literacy needs, but also all students, the kind of tools that this can use. So I'm a student, I've got Read and Write installed in the Chrome browser, so I'm using the Read and Write for Google Chrome version. I could also have this on my Windows machine, Read and Write for Windows, on my Mac, Read and Write for Mac. I could be in Read and Write for Edge, for instance. But I'm just going to show you just at the moment here, I'm in the Chrome version, Read and Write for Google Chrome. I've been provided lecture notes for this course I'm doing. I want to quickly review those and read those. I can put my cursor at the beginning of the first sentence, press the play button, and it starts to read back to me.
The circulatory system, also called the cardiovascular system or the vascular system.
And I can stop that. So every bit of text that I see, I can have that read back to me. And we know that when you have text read to you, it actually it supports your cognitive load. And often when you've got lots of stuff to read, having it read to you first just actually also supports your comprehension, because you can actually often comprehend text above your reading level when it's read to you. And I'm reading this and I need to find out more about what that word means, and on the fly I can look at the dictionary. I get a quick dictionary definition. I don't dive down deep, it just gives me a quick understanding of what that word is. And maybe I'm a student that English is not the first language, so it would help to actually have that as an image as well. I can choose the picture dictionary, and now I can actually also get that image. I get that concept as an image on the fly as well. So I've got tools like that. I could actually be on a website, and I want to do the same thing. So I just call up my toolbar. My toolbar turns up wherever I am. Here it comes, he says. Click that again. There it is. Toolbar, and I want to be able to read this, and I can just basically hover over that text and it will start to read whatever website I'm on. It will read all the web links.
The cardiovascular system consists,
etc. So it actually allows me to do a whole bunch of things around that. If I'm there and I actually want to decide that, oh, this is really important, a bit of information, I need to start to read and collect information. So when your students are remote, they need to be getting most of their information online, not from any kind of on-site libraries and etc. of their institution. So they can go in, I've read this online, I want to start making notes and collecting this information. They can highlight that information from that website, go through and highlight whatever they need. I'm going to get that stuff too. That's important. So they can highlight it's about something else. They can highlight in different colors. When they're right, they then press collect my highlights, go OK, and they will actually now put that what they were reading online, it will now put it into a new document for them, collect all the different highlight colors together, and even give them the web link where they got it from. So those kind of tools that your students actually can have access to are really important to support that. If I just go back to here, one of the things about Read and Write is that it's obviously across all platforms, but if a student's using Read and Write for Google Chrome as an example, it's now, and a new update for it is now they have a lot of these tools are actually available also if they're using Outlook online, or they're using their LMS via Google Chrome. They can access all their tools there as well. I was thinking about Outlook online. Just a student could even be in Chrome and be also accessing Read and Write. So I'm in Chrome, but I can access all my Microsoft documents. I can access OneDrive via my Chrome browser. And when I'm doing that, if I'm using predominantly Microsoft tools, I can be looking at maybe this lecture note is actually as a Microsoft Word document that I've saved online. I've opened up, here it is as well, and I've got my same toolbar. I can do all those things that I just mentioned, but I can also do things like I can use the word prediction if I want to start taking notes. This is, and as you can see, it's providing that word prediction for me that's supporting my spelling is really, and you can see that as I start to type, it's also giving me predicting what the next word would be. It's helping with my grammar because it's predicting grammatically. It doesn't doing all those kind of things. So I've got access to those kind of tools. And also I can not only do that, but I can use my voice to input into that as well. So I could just go, this is a really important part of the lecture. I need to go back and review what I've just read. And so they can just, whatever they've said is then translated to text and put into their notes as well as an example. So all those tools, and even now if they were taking, writing an email in say Outlook, they can be doing the same. Hi, John, let's catch up soon. They can even be putting that straight into their emails as well as an example. So there's lots of ways that Read and Write. Yep, Fiona, you're going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say we had a question about
Yep.
asking about online access in learning management systems like Blackboard and when we're doing assessment tasks and things like that.
Yep.
So I thought that could be useful for everyone to know the answer that yes, if we're in a Google Chrome browser and using Read and Write to Google Chrome, then you absolutely could access these tools under those conditions, couldn't you?
Yeah, under exam conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And then if you, there's, yeah, so you can actually, yes. So it depends on what you want to do, but you can actually have different, you can set up so that it depends on the license you have. Yeah. But you can set up so that just, yep. Yep. And just, yeah.
Threw you in the
That's
deep
okay.
end.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. The other thing is PDF. So your students often a lot of materials provided as a PDF to your students. So I'm going to stay in Google Chrome. When you've got the Read and Write for Google Chrome operating, and your students are using that as their platform, as their browser, I'm just going to go and open up a PDF. So I will just open. So the student gets a PDF. When they've got Read and Write installed, you also get to install Texthelpers PDF reader, which comes with Read and Write. And when you open up, I'll just open up this PDF, and this could have been a journal article or some course notes that have been provided or whatever it actually is. I then get a very similar looking toolbar. That's my PDF reader. And not only can I read this text back to have it read back to me by clicking anywhere
to improve students' performance
and have it read, but not only can I look at particular look at words and get dictionary meanings and all that kind of stuff. I can also annotate this if I need to make some notes on this. I can take notes, etc. I can put a note on this, go okay, and so I can actually be annotating this. I can be using this. I can be drawing, freehand drawing, marking out stuff. I can even be, if I find this really important, I can be even leaving some voice notes for myself by clicking over here and just. Remember to look up this. Remember to find the lecture notes from yesterday on cognitive load theory and revisit. So listen. That sounds all right. I press comment, and now I'm now attached my voice to that PDF as well. So, and then if I was to share that PDF with my lecturer or my course coordinator, they could get access to that voice notes as well. And if they've got Read and Write, they can then be also adding their own voice notes. So it's like a formative. You could also use it as a formative assessment tool. So Read and Write comes with a PDF reader, which is awesome for our students, particularly in remote and online environments, because not only do you have the ability to read that PDF, but you can have the ability to annotate and share information either by the annotations, which can be written, or by using your voice. And speaking of PDFs, often what happens is that you can provide a PDF to a student, and when you provide it, it actually, the PDF is just an image. And what I just did then, you really can't do, because the PDF is not really a PDF. It's basically an image, or sometimes you'll get a PDF that actually is locked, that it's just not accessible. What we need to do is actually make that PDF accessible. We need to make it so that the student can actually highlight, interact, have read, do all the things they need to be able to do. So we don't want to have the image, we actually want to have an accessible PDF. And to do that, what we need to do is rescan that PDF. And with Read and Write, when your students have access to Read and Write, they have a number of what we call virtual scanning features built into Read and Write. It will make inaccessible material that they're provided with accessible. It will make web content accessible, and they can make that accessible. They could be using this in Read and Write for Google Chrome. They could be using it in Read and Write for Windows and Mac, and it will make their documents accessible and their PDFs accessible. And I'll just show you an example quickly of that. So for instance, I'm on this is the course notes I had, and on this, in this course notes, there is this diagram, and that's actually a photo that's not accessible. I can't read that. The text is not accessible because it's part of the photo. I can't read it. On my toolbar for Read and Write, I've got a screenshot reader, which is a built-in virtual scanner. If I want to find out what those words are, I just need to put a box around them. Read and Write will scan them and read it back to me.
BA Auto.
And so I can be accessing text anywhere, anything that I want. I can be using that feature, be it Google Read and Write for Google Chrome. It can be using in Read and Write for Windows, wherever I am. And I know Fiona's busting to talk about this because she loves all this about this. But one of the other things about it is not only is that screenshot reader, but there's also a desktop feature as well. So if your students have access to a Windows machine and they're using Read and Write for Windows as well as Read and Write for Google Chrome, which they could use all versions, in the Windows version, if they can either attach a little portable scanner to their device, or they can actually have an existing file, and Read and Write, when they press the scan feature, will actually take whatever they've, an image or an existing document that's inaccessible, and it will actually make that document accessible by rescanning it and turning it into a PDF or a Word doc. Actually, will also turn that doc into also a EPUB and HTML as well. So HTML is really good for those students who need, maybe with vision impairment, who actually need the text enlarged or different colored backgrounds, as an example. So the screening tool, so students, it's kind of giving them agency. They don't need to be able to wait for someone to scan the material, wait to be given an accessible version of that which is currently not accessible. They can be doing this themselves. And before I hand back to you, Fiona, I just want to say one of the things about all this, and obviously it's very quick, it's just giving you a pen picture of it all, is the issue of that agency is super important for our students in online and remote environments, because they can't come to a campus, and maybe previously they would have had to had some kind of disclosure process where they've had to disclose. They would have needed some literacy support, and then you would have allocated resources or the software for them. What we want to be able to do is give them agency. We don't necessarily want them to have to disclose. We want the tools that they need available to them wherever and whenever they need them, and that's what we're aiming for when we're supporting literacy with Read and Write across all these environments, both at campus but also online and remote. So realizing we've got a limited time, the really important part of this puzzle is also not only the literacy part, but is the maths part as well. And so I'm going to flip back to you, Fiona, to talk about how EquatIO in particular can support students around mathematics and so much more.
Sure, thanks, Greg. Before I get started though, someone asked a question about where you could use that scanning tool. So I think that's valuable just to finish up with that, in that you can use it with laptop, desktop, all of those sorts of, wherever you can open up our app. But we also have a SnapVerter app which supports mobile
Yes,
devices as well.
yeah, yeah. What we probably should mention is this is obviously a quick pen picture for you all. We run regular webinars about where we get a chance to dive deeper into these particular tools. And at the end, we're going to show you a whole bunch of other resources that you can access if you want to know more about particular features or particular concepts we've talked about.
Absolutely. Okay, so is it back to me? I didn't get the.
I need to make you the presenter.
Thank you.
will.
Sorry, I could only see me as a choice. It's kind of weird.
There we go. There we go. It should be back
Yep.
to you now.
It's there. Okay. So I guess thinking about, we're going to jump from literacy into the maths environment, and we say maths and more because we know that students completing higher or further education courses, it's not just about the maths courses, it's about economics, it's about statistics, whether it be in psychology or whatever other subject that course that requires statistics. It's the STEM content. There's so many areas where students have to be able to complete graphs and work with numbers. So when we're looking at this, please think that hopefully I'll be able to show you that, but that's what we really want to try and do. So we're thinking, of course, about the task that the student want to complete. The tool that we're going to use is EquatIO, and the flexibility that it's going to show you in the way that they're going to be able to complete that task. So EquatIO is a toolbar just like Read and Write, but it sits at the bottom of your screen as opposed to sitting at the top. So that way you can have both Read and Write and EquatIO open at the same time should you require to do both. And it works on there's four kind of separate ways that it will work for you. So it works in the full G suite of tools. So it can be a Chrome extension and work in all those docs, forms, all of those sorts of things, slide sheets and drawings. It's a desktop application for Word on a Windows or a Mac device. And it's a web app in the browsers, which Google Chrome, Firefox and Safari. And it works within, it's inside a range of learning management systems as well. So Canvas, Brightspace, DTL and Schoology at the moment, but there's more being worked on. So if your current learning management system isn't in there, don't be too worried, because that's one of the big pieces of work that we're doing at the moment, is making sure that it's integrated into those learning management systems. And I think that one of the things about EquatIO is that because it does so many things, sometimes people can feel a little overwhelmed at the range of things that it can do. But then it can also do things so simply, don't you think, Greg, that sometimes people are kind of like, oh, well, maybe that's not really something for a tertiary environment. So hopefully I'll be able to show you in the short time that we have some examples that will support the use in this kind of environment. So let's quickly talk first about EquatIO for learning management systems. And the one that I've got an example for you today is Canvas. So Canvas, obviously learning management system, you've got your math editor, and EquatIO works exactly the same in Canvas as it does whether you're in a Word doc or whatever. So I'm going to show you a little video. I've sped it up a little bit so that it's not too, but it's just the way that it's so easy to create an assignment inside that Canvas workspace. So you can see there that it was a really quick little snapshot of how quick and easy it is. And we were using the equation editor there you could see some of the examples popping up to get that math quickly into the Canvas assignment and then ready to send out. So the other places, of course, it's available now. For all of these, it's obviously a domain license, but as a tertiary institution, that's what you would have. So that's not really an issue in terms of that. And obviously it works a little bit differently depending on which LMS you're working in, but essentially the same sort of thing. EquatIO is integrated into it, and then you've got the ability to create and insert that maths back into an assignment or a quiz or whatever it may be, very easily and simply. And of course, Schoolology as well. So Schoolology has been the most recent one. So at the moment, it's purely for staff and teachers, and we're working towards allowing students being able to access EquatIO inside Schoolology. So let's take a bit of a look at the toolbar. So in that little video, you saw a really quick clip of how the equation editor works. That's the first tool you can see on your left-hand side. Now, it's got a range of tools across your screen that you can see, and it does look a very simple toolbar, but what it does is it provides multiple ways for students to express their maths, and for teachers as well, that matter. They can type their maths with natural language. They can use the built-in graphing by Desmos, which is incredibly powerful. They can handwrite on their screen using, if they've got a stylus or a touch screen, or they can use their keypad like I do on my Mac. They can use their voice, so they can actually speak their maths. They've got the ability to use a mobile device. So there is an EquatIO for your mobile, and what you can do is you can actually handwrite or take a photo of maths on that mobile device and then share that back to your desktop or laptop computer, which is always a bit of a wow factor, Greg, isn't it, when we show people how you can do that. And we know that that's a problem that people are having at the moment, is how to share some of those paper-based work that they've completed. And sorry.
Sorry, I'll just jump in. So a student could be at home and they could have handwritten out a particular equation they need to use in an assessment task. They can literally take a photo of that handwritten equation with their phone and have that installed into their document they're going to share with their instructor or their teacher, and EquatIO will convert the handwritten equation into a digital equation and put it into their document. So it's awesome. It's awesome.
And it kind of does two things, because it makes it accessible for everybody, but it also makes it accessible. So you can actually mark that work once it's in a digital format and being shared back, as opposed to sitting in their book. And of course, we've got a screenshot reader, not dissimilar to the kind of idea that Greg's already shown you, but it's working with all of those maths terms. And then down the bottom there, we've got LaTeX, and people say it in all different ways. So I'm going to stick with that one. And it's a language that allows you to write maths, and what EquatIO does is allows you to write the maths, and then it will turn it into what I would recognise as maths on the right-hand side of the screen. So there's a whole bunch of tools in there to support those diverse range of learners that we have, regardless of whether it's maths or STEM or economics or statistics, whatever it may be. So let's just dive a little bit deeper into what each tool looks like. So you saw a little bit of what the maths prediction tool looked like in the video that I showed earlier, that little tiny video. And you can see on your screen there, essentially I can start typing the word and a range of predictions will come for me. And so as it does with Read and Write, it allows for maths to be written up a whole lot quicker and correctly, and all of those sorts of things. And there are a range of predictions that you can just by turning in the options, you've got your maths, your chemistry, and your formulas. So let's have a quick little look at what that might look like. So here I've just got a Google Doc, but I could have a Word doc. It would not matter. It will be exactly the same. I've got my EquatIO toolbar down the bottom, which in the Google environment I've opened from my extensions up the top here. It will be a desktop application on my to open up Word. And I'm going to click on the equation editor, and you can see in my document I've written down some I had that pulled up, some really quite complex formulas. So if I start typing instantaneous rate of change, I don't have to go along very far before the equation editor will correct that for me. I've got the ability to go in there and change those values and edit that in whichever way I need to. With Shift and Enter, I've then got the ability to start typing under whatever I may need to write to continue on with that. I've got a whole bunch of tools that allow me to align it. And if this was something, the instantaneous rate of change, that I'm going to be working on for the next few weeks, I can actually, or a really long time, add that to my favorites so that it's something I've got really quickly. I don't even have to start typing that, and I've got it there. Now, if I want to add that into my document, I need to pop the cursor in the place that I want it to be. And then over here, you can see on the right-hand side, I insert my maths. Now it's going to insert it as an image, as you can see, but an image that can be read aloud. So if I open up my read and write on the top of my screen and then click here and press play.
Instantaneous rate of change. 1 lines line 1, limit over h right arrow 0 of the fraction with numerator f of open paren x plus h close paren minus f of x in denominator h, sound intensity.
So you can see that it's reading it correctly. So it's reading it like it's maths. It's not reading it as a bunch of letters and numbers that doesn't make sense. So we've got that ability to be able to have that read aloud. So let's go back to, I'm going to delete this one. Let's click there and we'll have a look at another one. Sound intensity, same sort of thing. It pops up for me really quick. If I'm someone who's struggling perhaps with keyboard or whatever it may be, it's so much less in terms of keystrokes and doing those sorts of things. Carbon disintegration. And what you can see here is all of the chemistry symbols that I can pop in, and I can pop them in alongside my text. So for demonstration purposes, I have everything in extra large text. But if I just go down and pop that in my options, I can actually go in and I can change the size of the font and make that smaller or larger depending on what I need. So if I'm trying to create a document where I've got text and a formula sitting beside each other, I can do that with great ease, or a lot more ease than perhaps some of the other programs that we have available out there. And just to finish up, show you something completely different, we'll go for electrical potential energy. So you can see just how easy that is to really quickly get going and to be able to get that in there. I've got the ability, if I need to work on this, to enlarge my workspace. As I said, Shift and Enter brings me down to the next line and I can start completing the equation as I need to. So I click on that icon to remove it, to, rubbish bin as I would. So all of those sorts of things, really nice and easy. It looks easy, but it doesn't mean that you can't create complex maths. So that's the maths prediction. The EquatIO equation prediction probably has the greatest number of terms out of all of the input methods, but certainly allows. And one of the ways that I've used it in recent times is with a student with quite severe physical difficulties, so that they're able to use even eye gaze to start to get some of these into a document really, really quickly. So lots of different students and ways that you can support them. So that's, that's the word prediction. Let's keep going along. So I don't need to show you the chemistry prediction because I just showed you that there. With the LaTeX, I'm typing LaTeX on the left-hand side, which, as I said, is a language. And then on the right-hand side, EquatIO is producing that as maths that you and I would recognise. And this is really useful for a whole range of people. A lot of tertiary maths people will use LaTeX as a language to more quickly complete that maths. So let's have a little look at what that might look like. And if I go to the LaTeX editor, and here's something that has already been typed. And so you can see on the left-hand side, we've got it written in LaTeX. On the right-hand side, it actually the quadratic formula. So it allows for that writing to occur really quickly as well. So I can copy and paste using that, pop it into my EquatIO, and then pop it into a document as maths. Lots of ability to be able to do lots of things with that. So there's 2 input methods, but there are more. So Desmos is a graphing app that has been put into the EquatIO toolbar, and we're really lucky because it's an online graphic calculator that it is really powerful, but it's incredibly simple interface to use. And so you can use it to graph equations, functions, inequalities of different forms, all sorts of things, all the way to quite complex things. And so let's have a quick little look at what that looks like as well. Oh, didn't clear my screen. You can see here that what we've got is I've popped in the formula. I've then, as I popped in the formula, so let's just have a bit of a look. We'll go back. As I popped in that formula, it's asked me, do I want sliders? So do I want to see when A, B, and C have different values? I've said yes. So I've got the value of A there. I can change the value of any of these so that it will start to look a little bit differently. As I use these, now, Desmos is also incredibly accessible. So you can create graphs that have sound, all sorts of accessibility features available for you. And if you want to look at the types of features that Desmos has to support the students that you're working with, then you can go to just Google Desmos accessibility and you'll see the full range of things that they can do. But I can change those values. And what I can also do is then insert this graph directly using the insert graph wherever my cursor is, and that's always something to keep in mind. So I'll just pull that down a little bit and insert my graph into the document. Now what happens is that as a someone sharing work, I can insert that document. I can send this digitally, whether it's a Word doc, off to my students. When they receive it, they can actually click on this. So let me just pop back in, get rid of all of this. Go back to my equation editor, delete that, and I can click on that. So I've highlighted that graph, edit the maths. If I have to manipulate that graph in some way, I've then got the capacity to do that digitally straight from the information that's been sent to me by my lecturer or teacher. So really, really simple workflow that we're creating for students. So that's our graphing calculator, which is from Desmos. We've also got, I can see we're running out of time, so I'm going to keep going here. Handwriting tool. I won't demonstrate this, but you can see it on the screen. So we've got the handwriting, similar thing on the left-hand side of your EquatIO palette, and then on the right-hand side, you can see it's been turned into digital maths, which can be inserted into any number of documents, Word documents, Google Forms, whatever you may choose to use. Really nice and simple, particularly if students are working with a touch screen. or with a pen on a screen. You've also got the ability to say that maths, so that's really nice and simple as well. So let's give you a really quick look at that. I'll go back to here. I need to click the button to start recording. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Kilometres cubed. So there's just two, not that you'll put those together, but there's just two examples of the sorts of things that you can do using that speech input. Lots of ability. Now, obviously, we wouldn't want to do it that way, but we've got the ability to say a whole range of mathematical terms that will then be written digitally on the right-hand side of our screen. So multiple ways to be able to insert our maths. In terms of EquatIO Mobile, on your screen you can see on the right hand side that's the image of the mobile device, and on the left hand side you can see the document that we're inserting it into. At the moment with a mobile device it has to be inserted into a Google document as opposed to a desktop Word document. And so it's being handwritten and then being inserted into the document you can see on the screen. So that's really useful if we're out, not perhaps in the close environment. You can also take a photo, which you can see here, of the maths on a page and then save it as math or save it as an image. If you save it as math, you've got the ability to edit it. You've still got the ability to edit it as an image, but you can take it straight into EquatIO and make it really easy to use. So the choices when you're looking at EquatIO Mobile are handwriting directly onto that mobile screen, using speech to input your maths, or take a photo of some handwritten maths that is completed. And with the photos, I've taken a photo of up to about 5 lines of maths and it's worked quite well doing that. I don't know that you'd want to take a whole page of maths, but certainly equation at a time you can do. So that was a bit of a whirlwind look and we're running out of time. So I really do just want to show you the EquatIO Math Space, which is the web-based app. So to get to EquatIO Math Space, what we need to do, it gives a digital workspace for teachers and students to collaborate, to share work, to provide feedback to students. It's got the full toolbar sitting within that web app and the ability to perhaps share with a range of people, which you can see. So staff could share with other staff activities they've completed, and students can return their work via this web app as well. So let's have a quick little look. This all comes as part of the subscription. So we go to EquatIO.texthelp.com and you can see that it says EquatIO Math Space. It comes up to my spaces. I'm a teacher in EquatIO, so you'll see most of my examples are primary examples, but especially for today, I've put in an engineering question for you. So let's have a bit of a look at what that might look like. I've got the ability to create spaces with my new space. I've got the ability to assign tasks. And as a student, I've got my submitted tasks over here. So these are the tasks that I've submitted. You can see mine are primary examples, but it would not matter what the example is. These are the assignments that I've sent out to my students, and there are numerous examples here in my dashboard. And then I've got my spaces that I've created. So let's have a look at this one here. So if we're thinking about, say, something like electrical engineering, where you've got to be able to draw diagrams and a range of things, this gives you a space where you're able to do this. And coming really soon is the ability to have more than one page in your math space. So at the moment we have a single page. Soon it will be a bit like a slide deck. You'll be able to have multiple pages. So this example comes from a really old engineering paper. I'm going to show you that in a minute. Here's an example here where they've got a circuit, they've got values. They want to be able to, if we wanted to be able to recreate this question in a digital format for someone to access, then you've got the ability to do that within EquatIO. Now, I have just copied and pasted these so that I've got the ability to manipulate these so that I can create that diagram. I've got the ability to freehand draw, but I've also got the ability in here to draw lines, all sorts of things that I can do. I've got the ability to create the symbols through the equation editor. And then of course, I've got the ability to, I'll just turn that off, pull these all together to create something. So let's have a bit of a look. For some reason it doesn't want to pop out. So you can see really quickly how I'm able to do that. So I'm not going to worry about that anymore. But what I'm going to do is over here you can see the title. So we can give a title to the math space. We can label these things so that each of these can be read aloud if someone needs a label for it to have spoken text. We can arrange things as well. We can do all sorts of things. Now here I can share. So what I can do is I can make a copy for each person, or I can make a copy and expect a response if it was some sort of task that had to be completed. So let's go here and then continue. And what it does is it creates a unique link. I can copy and paste that link, and anywhere that I can store that link, no matter whether it's on the learning management system, whether it's in an email, whether it's in a Word document, I can pop that link in. And when the student clicks on that link, they go directly to the math space that I've created and have to complete the task. So lots of ability to be able to complete tasks. And in, if I just go back to my math space, ignoring the task, you can see here that I've got responses, and so I know how many of my students have completed them. And then if I click on a response, so I click on this one to look at the responses, I've got a visual picture of the type of response that's come back to me. And so that allows me to see, as you know, the teacher, really quickly how we're managing this task. Are they on board? I can also see that people have opened the task, but they haven't actually done anything with it. So I've got lots of really rich information here to make decisions about how I move forward with individual students. Now, unfortunately, I have run out of time. I'm just looking at that, Greg. There's just one last really quick little piece that I want to show you, and that is the screenshot reader. And it allows for maths to be read aloud. So let's have a quick little look at it reading it aloud. And then we've got to finish, I know, Greg. Oh. All right, maybe we should
It's okay. It's always a way, isn't it? When you press for time, it's going to. Here it goes.
5 lines, line 1. An iron hyphen cord coil takes 4A at A power factor line 2 of 0 times 5 when connected to A200V, 58 of ZZ line 3. Supply period if the equivalent resistance due to line 4, copper loss is 20 normal.
So you can see that that's giving lots of information to the students, and it reads that task out aloud, whether it's, but we're going to have to stop there. So let's go back, Greg. I apologize. And
That's
I
okay.
will.
I think one of your slides, the one, I think the screenshot reader, that one you've just demoed, is really, really important, because for students
Yes.
who are remote and online, when they just can't get access to that maths or that chemistry equation or a particular formula, they just can't, which means, Fiona, they could be on a website, anywhere, they can actually grab that information, copy it, not only have it read back to them, but copy it and actually then start to manipulate it and insert it wherever they have to do in whatever document they're using.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that you can see on this slide just really quickly that you can copy it into the LaTeX or the MathML, which allows for it to be read correctly when you're reading it out loud. So that's what's really important as well. All right.
And then when the students come back on campus eventually, and they're in a lecture or a tute, and the teacher's actually writing on a whiteboard some mathematics, they can literally be using their phones to take a copy of that handwritten text and using the same technology, convert it into digital maths, and then they can then use it. So yes.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so should we finish up?
Yeah, let me go back to being the just to finish up. Can you now see my screen? Whoops. Yep. Okay, great. Thanks, Fiona. Everybody, if your institution doesn't currently have Read and Write or EquatIO, and you're a teacher at that institution, you can actually get access to what we call our Free for Teacher. So all teachers globally across the planet are able to have their own personal subscription to both those bits of technology, Read and Write and EquatIO, that you get for life. You just need to go to that link on the screen, text.help/free for teachers, and you will go to it'll take you to a web page where you just have to sign up, and you will get access to all these tools as well. If you have any questions about anything from today, I'm sure there's lots of questions and want to know more, a couple of things you can do. As Fiona said, we're going to send you, and there'll be an email coming that will have lots of follow-up handouts, information, access to video of this webinar, but as well as that, you can contact us directly. There's both our email addresses on the screen, and I've already been talking to somebody in the chat just then who needs to find out more about the memory and the system requirements for EquatIO, so we're going to follow up. But you can email me directly at my email or Fiona's. That's also our Twitter handles there. You can contact us via Twitter. If you wanted to dive deeper and actually get a more intense look at any of those, either those tools or any of the features of those tools in more depth, you can actually book a time with us. And we've got a new system booked up where you can actually kind of you can book 15 minutes, and we'll give you 15 minutes to. We can go online with you. We can go via video conferencing, Zoom, Teams, Google Meet, wherever it is, or even a phone call, and we can spend some time to go deeper with you. And you just to book a time with either Fiona or I, or even with our technical support and customer support person if you've got more of a technical question or time you need. That's Dolly Najuru. You could just all you need to do is go to the website, the web link texthelper.youcanbook.me, and then you'll be able to book in a 15-minute slot with us. If the slot that you want's not available, by all means email us, and I'm sure we can find a suitable slot that you can book up. Just generally, if you want to know any more, if you want to know more about how does your institution get access to the tools, or you want to find out more just about anything, you can contact the team at Texthelp here based out of our Brisbane office at asiapac@texthelp.com. If you want to know more about these remote learning webinar series, you want to maybe access what we did the last few days, or there's going to be a much more in-depth session tomorrow with EquatIO. You can get all access to everything, even if you haven't attended, by the resources and access to videos by going to the remote learning webinar series website by text.help/remote2020. And I think there we have it. We're only a couple of minutes over time. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Fiona.
Thanks, Greg.
And it's been great sharing some time with you, everybody. By all means, reach out to us if you need it, and we look forward to catching up with you all soon.
Absolutely. Bye.